Hello, everyone. So today we continue with the security control number 2, according to CIS Critical Security Control. The series that we are talking about, the practical and relevant security control that one can immediately use and apply to secure his or her cyber security environment. And please, if you have not seen the previous video, please go and visit those video first so that you may have a big picture of what we are really covering in this series. And if you have not subscribed, please subscribe so that you will always be aware of the progress and the value derived from this series. So let us proceed with this second security control. So this second security control is all about the inventory and control of software assets. For those who have seen the first control, which was about the inventory of hardware asset, so this is the same as that previous one, but now this focus on the software side of the enterprise assets and what this control is all about. So here the focus is about continuously tracking of the softwares in your network. We have already tracked the hardware in our network and having our inventory, but now here we are supposed also to know each and every kind of software that is running in our given IT infrastructure. And this inventory, all these risks help us to know the authorized software, because if we know all software in our network, we may check them to see whether these are the one that we need to be used or these are not the one that need to be used. And of course, having this kind of list, the other side of the coin of it helps you to know and to detect the unauthorized software, because having a complete list about that, you can know the software that you have validated and the software that you have not validated, so you can do the necessary measures about it. So why this control is also important? First and foremost, just as the previous control, the inventory of hardware assets, we also need to know the scope of our security jurisdiction, because we are supposed to protect our environment. So we have seen the coverage or the scope in the hardware perspective, but here we also see the perspective of coverage in the level of software. Which software are we supposed to protect? Because if you don't have that scope, you may not know for sure whether you are doing the right thing or not. And of course, now, if you know all kind of software that you are supposed to protect, then you may be able to know when to put patching, when to amend if there are vulnerabilities found. Take, for example, you have software that are used in your network and you don't know that they are used. So even if you get information that there are this vulnerability or there is this patch about this software, you will not take any action because you may assume that you don't use those software. But by your surprise, some of your users in the environment, they are using that particular software. So this kind of inventory help us to facilitate issues like patching, to facilitate issues like if there are some updates to be done on the software, if there are vulnerabilities found on the software, automatically knowing that the software are within our list, then we know that we need to take action about the particular patching or about closing the particular vulnerability. But also we have to know that some of us, we don't take necessary steps to have this kind of inventory. But hackers, they spend a lot of their time scanning your organization, scanning of networks to find software that are known to be vulnerable. So if you don't take these measures, the enemies of the cybers, the hackers, they are going to do this on your behalf with the motives of attacking you. That's why you need to be ahead of them so that you know if there are issues about your software and act accordingly before they discover them and use them to exploit you. And of course, this inventory also help us to identify unnecessary security risk, because by doing this, you may realize that there are software used in your given network and actually they are not that significant for the purpose or objective of your given organization, and yet they provide some kind of risk. Maybe those kind of software are no longer supported, or maybe those kind of software are no longer having the necessary security features. So by just having this list, you may know that, okay, there are this kind of software currently used, but actually we don't really need them. So to reduce the attack surface, to reduce the scope of your coverage, because the more the digital assets you have, the more you need to be skilled, the more you need to be prepared and investing in protection measures. So this Inventor kind is going to help you to remove those software that you are not really need in your given environment. But without this, you may not know for sure what real softwares are running in your IT infrastructure. So how are we going to realize this inventor of software assets? Actually, the common approach for this kind of control is by using commercial software inventory tools. There are a lot of them. And as I said in this series, we are not going to talk more about these commercial tools unless it is that necessary. But if we have alternative open source that has been battle tested and that has been proved to carry and doing the work accordingly, there is where our focus is going to be. Because the purpose here, as we said from the beginning, is not just to talk about these issues, but be able to implement them so that we may see the progress, so that we may see we reduce the attack surface of our cyber environment, of our cyber spaces. And the common ways of storing this software inventor is by using spreadsheet and database. And as usual, we store them in a way that we can refer them anytime for our reference, because the inventor here is not for the sake of just having the inventor, but it is there for you to use as reference whenever you are doing your cybersecurity activities in the level of softwares. So let us talk about the safeguards, things that you have to be there, or crucial things that you are not supposed to forget when you are implementing this kind of control. Of course, the first one is, has been said from the beginning, you need to establish now the inventor of all the software that you have in your given IT infrastructure. And one of the information, or some of the information that you should not miss them, there has to be a name of the software, the version of the software, and the publisher of the software. You may add other information, but at least this information has to be there, because in one way or another, they help you to know what necessary things you can do whenever there are vulnerabilities. If you have the vendor, you know whose vendor to contact. And if the vendor has provided some patches or some updates, then you know these vendors, I have software about him in my own IT infrastructure. So you may act accordingly. And of course, having this inventor helps you to know the software that are not unauthorized in your given IT infrastructure, because you have all the risks and you have validated it. So whenever you are doing your security activity, sometimes later and you detect a software that was not in the list of your validated software, then you know that I have to dig more about this kind of software. How has it come to be existing in my given digital space? And of course, this also has to come in hand when you are doing this kind of security in your given environment. You have to make sure those authorized software are currently supported. So you are not just going to validate the software, but you have to make sure all the software that you have validated and proved for them to exist in your cyberspace, you have proved those software that are currently supported, because we know the software that are obsolete, they really present a very high risk posture for your cyber space. And you may also implement the so-called allow list of authorized software, allow list of authorized libraries, and authorized scripts. Those are the kind of measures also you may incorporate as you realize this inventor of software. And as we said from the beginning, you can just use any tool that is effective and that is affordable to you. But as far as this series is concerned, for us, we are going to show practical how are we going to use Elastic Stack or Elastic ELK to implement or to establish inventor of software assets in our given cyber environment. And why this solution? Why not other solution? Of course, first and foremost, it is free, but not just because it's free. Also, this kind of solution, this Elastic Stack, has been proved to be robust and reliable tool that you can use to implement main of security control, including this one. And of course, they provide the cloud and on-premise solutions. So whatever your environment is, you can use it and you can adapt it. But also, this Elastic Stack has been proved to have some very powerful feature that we can use in IT security. And as we are going to see, we are going to use this one solution to implement at least 7 of the 18 CIS critical security control. So by just mastering this one tool, you see that you have corrected yourself a big arsenal of things that you can use to secure and safeguard your cyber environment. And of course, we are going to start the practical side, the practical implementation of this control after covering the third control. So after covering the third control, we are going now to start the practical side of this presentation. So as you can see, we have covered now the second control of the 18 critical security control according to CIS. So please don't forget to subscribe, and please tell your neighbor, tell your friend, tell your colleague, because the purpose of this channel is to provide action-oriented information about cybersecurity practical control that you can immediately use and apply to secure your cyber environment. We will provide very premium information by our own experience, the truth that we have battle tested them and prove them that they really do the work that is supposed to do. And please, you can chat with us through WhatsApp, as you see our number below the screen. If you have any issue, have any concern about the applicability of the cyber control or anything about cyber security, you can just chat with us and we will respond to you, helping you, because the aim here is to make sure cyber space of every person viewing this video, receiving this information, is as secured as it can be. So that's it for today. See you next time. Thank you.